Hello everybody, welcome to UNSW and welcome to the law school. It's great to see so many people coming to find out about the law school and to find out what we have to offer. Unfortunately, I don't have the fantastic job of telling you just how great everything is here. My job is to give you some of the nitty-gritty that you might be interested in about how to get into law school and how we actually work here. So, we'll start with entry. I guess most of you are will be starting from year 12. Last year, the ATAR required for entry was 99.65, but we don't know what ATAR will be required this year. Most of our undergraduate students are coming in directly from high school, but we also have an internal transfer program for students who come into UNSW into another faculty and then apply to transfer after 1 year of study. Additionally, students sometimes transfer in from other universities, so having studied a year of another degree or a year of law and a combined degree at another university, they can also apply to come into UNSW Law. The Juris Doctor program probably isn't relevant to most of you now, but it's a graduate law degree for students who've completed another degree and then decided that they want to come in to do law. So rather than doing the combined degree straight from school or transferring into the combined degree, it's possible to finish another degree and then come in and do a graduate law degree, or what we call the Juris Doctor. The following three lines on the slide, the Academic Achievement Award, the Elite Athletes and Performers Program, and the Access Scheme are always to assist students who've had other things happening during school and during the HSC to get a bit more of a level playing field in terms of applying to the university. The Academic Achievement Awards are for students who've done the best in their school, regardless of where their actual ATAR has left them. The Access Scheme, for example, is for students who've suffered educational disadvantage during their HSC studies. The Elite Athletes and Performers program recognises that people who've been working very hard at other things may not have the same ATAR as students who've simply been studying. So there are a number of different schemes that we have to try to give everyone equal opportunities in terms of coming into the law school. For transfers, this is a slide on internal transfers. As I said, students can come into UNSW if, for example, you can't get into law straight from school. There's still the opportunity to come into UNSW into a different faculty, do a year in that faculty, and then apply to come into the law school. If you do that, what we will base that on is your WAM, or your weighted average mark, during your time at university. We don't any longer take your ATAR into account, but we look at what you've done while you were at university. We're also making sure that that evens out so that students in any faculty will have equal opportunities to apply for those transfer places. And we'll be guaranteeing 100 places for students wanting to transfer into law after their first year in UNSW, whatever faculty they were in. Okay, now generally in Australia, and particularly at UNSW, students studying undergraduate law do that as part of a combined degree. So no one comes in here and just studies law straight from school. They'll come in and study law as part of a combined degree. So you would enrol in, for example, arts law, art theory law, mathematics law, science law, computing law, international studies law, and so on. And what happens with that is that right from day one, you're enrolled in both degrees. I think to start with, you have an introduction to law while you're doing a greater proportion of courses from your other degree. And as the years go by, you can see in purple on the slide is your law courses, and in white is the courses from your joint degree. So as the time goes on, and in fact by the final year, you're doing all law. Each year you're doing a bit more law and a bit less of your other degree. But by the time you've finished and completed, you will have 2 degrees, so a complete arts degree and a complete law degree, a complete international studies degree and a complete law degree. And because all our students are combined law students, that is studying across faculties, we're very able to cater for that. We don't have problems with students who are trying to enrol in 2 faculties and can't fit their things in, because we know that all of our students are going to be doing that. So that's exactly what we cater for and what we expect. Okay, at UNSW Law, right from first year, we have mentoring and tutoring schemes to try to help students to settle in, both socially and academically. So we have peer tutoring, where students will help one another to settle in, get to know the law school, get to know other people, get familiar with the work. And there's also academic tutoring to help students really to get on top of what they're doing. Law, even for fantastic students, even for students who've absolutely blitzed the HSC, law is a new language. And a lot of students find it a bit hard in the early days. However, we do have the mentoring and tutoring schemes to help students to really get on top of that and to become more familiar with the language of law and the way of studying law. In the classroom, as has been mentioned by others, we have a very interactive learning approach. And in fact, I'm thinking that for those of you who come here to study law, this will probably be the only time that you have someone at the front saying blah, 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 blah to you without you having an opportunity to engage. So generally in the classroom, we would not only allow students to engage, but we would expect students to engage. We'd expect you to be prepared for class, to come to class, to interact not only with the teacher, but with one another. And it's really the case that a great deal of learning goes on in that situation, where students are having to think, to be challenged, to articulate their ideas, rather than just sitting and soaking it up. Mooting, I think you might already have heard about mooting, but like a mock trial that some of you would have done at school, where you have opportunities to actually act as though you're in a courtroom, to present a case, to advocate for one side or another before judges. And what this does is it really hones both your communication skills and your research skills, as well as things like teamwork skills, where you're actually working with others to present the best case you can for your client. We have mooting competitions all the way across the curriculum from first year to final year. We have local ones, we have national ones, and we have international competitions as well that our students take part in. Internships, you've probably heard a bit about. Internships involve our students going into an organisation, generally a public interest organisation, a social justice organisation, and working there, for example, 1 day a week, working on research or helping that organisation work. And clinical practice, similarly, is a course which students do in a particular place where they're actually giving legal advice under supervision, but working in places like the Kingsford Legal Centre. Currently, we also have a human rights clinic where students are actually giving advice on human rights matters. We're beginning a housing law clinic, we have an employment law clinic and so on, where students actually deal with clients and advise them, do the research, consult with other lawyers, and then advise real clients. So these are just some of the opportunities that you'll have. Kingsford Legal Centre is one example of a clinical legal experience that students have here, but there are lots of other examples as well. Many students here do an international exchange, and Eunice has just mentioned her exchange. Many of the students go overseas and just love it. Some students also manage to go overseas on exchange in their other degree. So, for example, students in arts might go on an arts exchange and then a law exchange and things like that. So there's lots of opportunity there. In addition, international winter and summer schools. As Eunice mentioned, we're about to start one in human rights in New York. We have the Beijing summer school, or I think it's a winter school now, and various other schools we're looking into. A summer school in Vietnam, a summer school in Vanuatu, and various other places. So lots of opportunities to go overseas. If you can't go for a whole exchange for a whole semester, you could still get opportunities to go for a particular course. The centres on the board behind me are just some of the centres that we have at UNSW Law involved in the law school and the law faculty, and they're also centres where students can do clinical placements or internships. Okay? So you can just see from the range of centres written behind me that there's really a lot of breadth there. If you look at things like Centre for Law, Markets and Regulation, and then you've got the Indigenous Law Centre, Diplomacy Training Centre, Centre for Public Law. There's a really broad range of things that students can do, And for students with any kind of interest or whatever their desire is when they finish, there are opportunities that hopefully will interest you there. That's all I have, but later if people have more specific questions about the nitty-gritty of law school and the degree here, you're welcome to ask. But for now, thank you very much.